Hey fam, just want to record another video. I've been looking at a lot of news stories, and a lot of them have been recalling the great unity that we had after the 9/11 attacks. And so, if you go back in time to 2001, there was a lot of unity when the Twin Towers collapsed, right? And they were taken down by that terrorist attack where the two planes flown into the building. And a lot of people were remembering different things about September 11th. And a lot of people were just, man, I wish we can go back to the unity of those days. And first, let's just talk a little bit about unity. Um, Unity is not necessarily always good. And what I mean by it is this: you have to have the right kind of unity. And for a man, let me just tell you, I said something about not being afraid of conflict, and I really believe that is a something that spurs men's growth. You need conflict, you need fight. And the truth of the matter is that if you surround yourself with people who will only say yes to you, you're not going to grow. You're not going to be challenged, so you can't grow. You can't get better ideas if you think you're great already. If everybody says, "Oh man, everything you said is awesome." If somebody's not trying to poke holes in what you're doing, you're not going to get better. And that's why I appreciate it. It was a couple people who commented on a video and they pointed out something where I said a DA was from a different city than he was from, and they said, "What, you didn't see where this DA really was from? Oh, then you must not be paying attention to this story." And I just took that as sometimes you got to take your L. And the truth of the matter is that when you take that L and you accept that L, you can actually learn from it. It's when you pretend that there was no L that you can't learn. So the truth of the matter is that unity, it has its benefits, but it has its minuses. Now, what's the benefit of unity? Well, the benefit of unity is power, right? So if you have a unified group of people, they can do great things. And I think we have to understand what kind of unity we're looking for. Because when you talk about what the media is pushing in unity, they're pushing a unity where everybody agrees. But the truth of the matter is that we all don't agree. And so what kind of agreement are they really looking for? They're really looking for people to shut up, specifically men who have moral clarity. Because let's face it, the reason that we had unity after 9/11 is because of two things. One is moral clarity. The second thing is a common enemy. Let's be really blunt. We had moral clarity after 9/11 because there was nobody who could look at those attacks other than if you were an extreme terrorist. Nobody could look at those attacks and not see that that was just pure evil. You flew planes into buildings. You didn't care if you killed women, children, no matter who you killed. You didn't care. You didn't have a specific target. You just wanted to kill people. And so that was extremely evil. And people could say that that was clearly evil, and they made that case that it was clearly evil. And it was hard to make a case against that being clearly evil. And so when you made that case, moral clarity provides unity. And that's the problem that I have a lot with a lot of churches. A lot of churches are not willing to paint evil the way it is. If you don't paint evil, there will not be meaningful unity because you need to create moral clarity. You could talk about Hollywood, and I'll talk about that maybe in future videos. But the reason why Hollywood has such a hard time making believable villains, and thus they have to go back to stories they've already made and remake them over and over and over again, is because they don't have moral clarity. Hollywood is struck with moral relativity. And because it doesn't have moral clarity, it's hard for them to describe good and evil. And if you don't have a good guy and a bad guy, it's hard to make a good plot. What Hollywood has become good at, or what I should say largely is the entertainment industry has become good at, is making morally gray characters. The Grand Theft Autos, the Breaking Bads, where the bad guy that was traditionally bad might be considered the good guy or the main character. And so they become good at that, and you can't take that from them. They have got good at that. Sopranos. There's lots of shows like that. But on the other hand, they have gotten really bad at making traditional heroes and traditional villains because they don't have moral clarity. Well, moral clarity is needed for unity, and we don't have moral clarity right now. We got a lot of people who are going out there saying if you don't take a vaccine, you're evil. At least that's what they're insinuating. You're irresponsible. You're not loving. If you don't shut your church down, you're evil. If you don't agree with me, you're evil. And really what they want is, they don't want moral clarity. What they want is you shut up. You disagree, but you shut up. And then we'll be unified if only you will be quiet. If only you Christians will be quiet. If only you men will be quiet. If only people who understand morality will be quiet and the rest of us can talk. And the second thing that causes unity is a common enemy. And we don't have that. We don't have a common enemy because of a lack of moral clarity. Different people looking at different things as the villains. So you really have a lot of people who believe this piece of that there are wild white racists running around trying to kill black people. And I just have to tell you, that's not true. On the other hand, you got a lot of people going around saying there's a lot of anti-Asian bigotry going out there and it's ruining the country. Listen, if you Asian and you have experienced this, I feel bad for you. Don't get me wrong, but that is not a big, huge nation shaking problem. It's just not. Even that shooting that happened in Atlanta where they killed ladies who were working on those massage parlors, bro, that was let's be real. That's a lot like the Mercedes Moore case. But the truth of the matter is that you have a lot of guys who can't handle the sex industry. And they can't handle it. They get emotionally connected to whoever they're going to get their pleasure from, and they can't handle that. There's a lot of guys who can't handle that. A lot of guys who go to the strip club and fall in love. A lot of guys who look at porn and fall in love. There are guys who just can't handle that. And truly, God didn't make us to handle that, so I kind of understand it to a degree. But there is not going to be a common enemy, right? That's not a problem. The anti-Asian bigotry is not this huge problem. They're talking about people storming the Capitol. That's not a huge problem. There's not a lot of people who are going around talking amongst themselves and say, hey, man, you know what we need to do next week? Let's storm the Capitol. That's not a problem. And so what we have is we have a lot of boogeymen, but we do not have the moral clarity to describe a common enemy, and thus we will not have unity. And what do we need for unity? Well, we need truth. And really what people are yearning for is they're really yearning for the church. And that's why I always just push the church, because people will say, man, why you always say the church is the solution? Because it is. You may not want to hear it, but it is. You not going to church means that you lack clarity. You lack support. You lack moral authority. You lack understanding the truths of the world and why the world works the way it does. You lack spirituality. You lack a critical part of the human experience that you can't get anywhere else. And you could try to make it up as you go, but the truth of the matter is, without the word declaring what the truth is, you will not find that truth. So, hey, that's why we don't have unity, and that's why we're not going to have it.